Okay, this is going to be part 2. This is going to be about firewood and the different types of firewood. Now, about 80% of what I burn, what I call good hardwood for cold days and for cold nights, is beech. Now, I guess we're going to start with the chunky wood. This is a piece of beech, and it is quite heavy. It is an actual part of the tree. It hasn't been split or anything. So I like to burn, as a general rule, in my opinion, in my experience, if the wood is dry and it still has quite a bit of heft to it, that's good, long, burning wood. Now, if you don't split it, like this one here is not split, if I'm going to be away from the house for several hours or all day, or if it's really, really going to be like 25, 30 below and the wind is blowing, I'll burn mostly beech and ones that have not been split. Now, if they've been split, they tend to burn a little bit. Well, I'll show you. I'll show you a good one. This is a beech that has been split. It's been split right smack dab right down the center. This tends, even though if you have the other half to it, okay, and they're both split, these will burn faster because they're split than a whole piece will. Now, so if I'm going to be away for a long time during the day, or if it's going to be a really, really cold night, I'll put as many of these as I can in my stove. Now, when you fill your stove, you need gaps between your wood. Otherwise, it's going to sit there and slowly burn, and then even though the wood is dry, smoking wood creates creosote. To my knowledge, there isn't wood out there that doesn't form some sort or some degree of creosote. Now, I like burning, did I say birch? Beech. I like burning beech because it lasts a long time. It puts off some heat, and I can stack it in, and you'll figure out how to stack wood in so you can get the most wood that you can in without putting it right on top of the inside box. Now, beech is a good one. Yellow birch is a good one for long burning. They're both heavy. Hornbeam is also a heavy wood. Some of your maple is a heavy wood. Now, if you get, okay, now yesterday, this here is a big chunk of popple. Popple is a warm winter, a warm day burning wood. A lot of us, myself included, if we get a chilly, rainy summer day, I'll find a piece of popple because it burns just long enough to take the chill out, take the dampness out of the air inside your house. And when popple burns down, it turns into ash. There's no coals. So you can burn a lot of popple before you have to clean out the stove. But it burns quick. It burns really quick compared to a beech. Okay. This will burn a lot longer than popple. Now that popple stick that I just had was bigger than this piece, but it's very light in heft, in weight. Now this is my winter burning wood for the most part. So this is mostly my good hard wood for cold weather. Now, I just saw a squirrel go under my house. Now, I don't like that whatsoever. I put a bird feeder up over there last week, and I've seen that red squirrel, and I told it not to go underneath my house because it'll get right into the insulation and it'll stave the insulation all up. So, I might have to take that bird feeder down. I might. Or I can put it up by my other plum trees. We'll see. So let me go to the other woodshed. Now, as you can see, the small woodshed here, the wood is completely different. I do have some chunky beech, but mostly I have popple up in there. I have birch up in there. I have some cherry and some white birch. I have gray birch, and they're a whole lot smaller, right? So this is cherry. You can tell cherry because it has a red tint inside. And this is a small cherry. Of course, there's birch, right? So I have a variation of a lot of different woods in here, but mostly it's small. These are if I am going to do some cooking on my wood stove. The smaller the wood, the hotter the heat, but it doesn't last as long. So it's good enough to, if I'm going to be making some pan bread on the wood stove and I need it to a certain degree and it's got to be hot, but it doesn't have to last very long. This is what I like to use, is the small birch, the small cherry, the small popple, okay? So if you want to burn your chimney out and you need a hot fire to do so, right? Small wood is how you're going to get a hot fire real quick, okay? The smaller the wood, generally speaking, the hotter the flame, the faster it will burn, okay? And then it'll burn itself out. The bigger the wood, like this beech here, it'll burn slow. It won't burn so hot, but it'll still put off a lot of heat, but it's going to last a lot longer. So you're just going to have to know your wood. In my opinion, cherry, you can identify it by the red, okay, versus this color here. That's popple, that's cherry, that's birch, and this is right there is cherry too as well. I'll turn it over so you can see that red streak. Now, a lot of this wood in here burns really fast. Now the cherry, this piece here, and this birch here burn about the same in the wood stove as far as duration. Okay, you can get a big chunk of birch and a big chunk of cherry right there side by side. Those will burn a whole lot faster than a split beech will of the same size, okay? Generally speaking, the smaller wood burns hotter and faster, good to cook with. That's called biscuit wood. And the hardwood is heavier in weight and burns a lot longer. I don't know if that made any sense at all, folks. So I do have some good wood in the back, but mostly this is small wood for burning hot fires. Generally, small wood. Now you want to stay away from punky wood. Now let me show you what punky wood is. This here is punky wood. Almost has a consistency of a cork. that will soak up humidity in the air. It'll get heavy. And I don't even know why I even have that in my wood pile, because there was a tree that I cut that the whole length of it was just like this, and I tossed it right out, and it filled a hole. It just filled a divot in the ground, because that right there will, even though you can get it bone dry, it's going to smolder. It just will not create a flame. Now you can get partially punky wood with good wood around it, like maybe the outside was still good but the inside was punky, or the outside was punky and the inside was still good. And if you get it nice and dry, it will burn that way. But if it's all punky, I have never had any luck burning punky wood. Any wood that has excessive smoke, usually because it's rotten or rotted or wet or unseasoned, not dry, that's where a lot of your creosote comes from. Now, I know a lot of people will not burn white birch because it's known for creosote. But if you get your fire nice and hot and you burn it hot, then it'll help keep the creosote down. So in my experience and in my opinion, and it's only my opinion, folks, all wood is good to burn in moderations. You've got your elm, you've got your maple, you've got your popple, you've got all these different species of woods. Now there is kind of a wood hierarchy. Here in Maine, we tend to have some pretty good winter firewood. The good heavy stuff, the long burners, right? Also, you can burn spruce, you can burn any type of fir. The only thing is, especially the spruce, the hemlock, some of your popple, and like your oak. Oak is a really good winter burning wood. It's really heavy and it burns a long time. Those are the ones that I am aware of that take at least 2 years to dry. You cut it 1 year and you go 2 years later, and then you can burn it that winter. All those that I named take a long time to dry. Popple, if you cut a popple and you cut it up this size here, and you stack it, and you cover the top of the pile, this is popple, then you can burn it 2 years later. What we like to do here is we like to cut the popple tree and let it lay right there. We'll cut it up. I burn 16-inch wood, 16-inch long. We'll cut the tree. We'll cut it up, for my wood, 16 inches long. Split it and stack it. The next year, it's going to smolder a little bit unless you kiln dry it. Even out here in the open where it gets plenty of wind, plenty of sunshine, even if there's no rain, that popple tree that you downed in the spring will not be ready to burn until the next season. So it's got to go a year and a half, basically. Same with your oak, same with your spruce, same with your hemlock. They just take a long time to dry. Now, I know a lot of people that burn mostly white birch, gray birch. They burn pine. I would be awful careful of pine because of all the pitch, the resin, right? Pitch resin, pine resin is highly, highly flammable. They use it, you can use them as fire starters, right? You take a stick and pop a pine pitch or a spruce pitch bubble, and then it doesn't take anything to light that on fire, and you can start a fire with it. So It's got to dry, it's going to burn hot, and it's going to burn very, very fast. Here, I use pine for kindling, for fire starters. You couldn't, inside my stove, you couldn't catch me throwing a log of pine, a pine chunk in my wood stove. No, it would take off so fast, folks. And it would take off hot, and it would take off in a fury, and it could get away from you. So everybody has their preferences. Some people refuse to burn birch. Some people refuse to even use pine as a fire starter. Some people refuse to burn spruce, hemlock, any of that. And they just go for the really, really good hardwood. So that's just a matter of preference. Either way, it's got to be dry. It's got to be seasoned. And any fire, when you first start it, is going to smoke. After the wood has caught on in your stove, it should no longer smoke. You should be able to come outside and look at your chimney to see if there's any smoke coming out of it. And I'm saying that as I just filled my stove, and it's going pretty good. I don't know if I can, I'll show you in just a second. And there's no smoke. You can see heat coming out of it, but you can't see any smoke because I've got real good seasoned hardwood in there. Let me show you. Now, I've got that zoomed up, and it's pretty highlighted, silhouetted. But I've got you lined up with a tree behind the house. I don't know if you can see the heat coming out of that chimney, but there's no smoke. That's what you're aiming for.